Hey guys, so for anybody that's going to be tuning in today, I just wanted to let you know that I'm having a super relaxing Sunday. It is currently 4:30 and I have to leave to go pet sitting here in about an hour or so. I've just been vlogging and editing and writing today, so I wanted to just kind of go live on here, see if any of you guys are writing this Sunday, and if so, then maybe we could do some word sprints or just hang out. Feel free to ask any questions you have for me in the comments, and maybe we'll hang out for an hour or so. I had a really, really rough time. Yes, hang up, babe, I'm on live. What's up? Greg does that every single time I get on here. I told him like 4 times, I'm doing a live stream, and he always comes in and needs something from me. So I can't see anybody's comments now. I have to log into my YouTube first. But anyway, guys, I was having such a difficult time getting this live going today. I did it wrong multiple times. And for a while, I was actually sitting here just talking to myself because the video was broadcasting, but it was on private, so nobody could see it anyway. And it took me forever to realize that it was on private and that nobody was here. Okay, now I can see you guys' comments. Hi, you guys. So if you see me looking over here in this direction, it's because my laptop that I'm writing on is over here on my left. And then over here is where I have Greg's laptop set up because my laptop doesn't support streaming because it's so old. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm glancing over here. Right? Oh my gosh, the art of live streams. It really is an art. You'd think that I would have it down by now because I've done a few other live streams with Brooke and Mandy, but I'm seriously struggling. Let's see. So Faith, to answer your question, I have a tentative release date in mind. I haven't really stuck to that because I'm not sure how long everything's going to take, but I'm hoping for near the end of 2018. But when I am more sure about that, then I will definitely do a video all about the release day and the cover release and all of that stuff. Yeah, so what are you guys all working on today? Because I'm working on editing chapter 17 right now. I'm almost done with it. It's a pretty long one. I think it's 3 scenes, 1 chapter, but broken down to 3 scenes. I'm on the 2nd scene right now, so I'd like to finish that and then hopefully finish chapter 18 today too, just to stay on track so that I know that I can get it to my editor in time. Oh, these are such wonderful, wonderful comments. Thank you, Orlando, for changing the world. Oh. Yeah, I'll also be not only will I be responding to you guys while we chat, but I'll be typing back to you as well. Sometimes I feel as a writer, many of us are writers, I feel like I can sometimes organize my thoughts better in written form versus just talking it out. So I'll definitely be typing in the chat box with you. But I think I'm going to go ahead and work for 10 minutes or so. So if you guys are working on anything, you're welcome to join me. It is 4:33 where I'm at. So I might do maybe a 7-minute word sprint. I like really short word sprints because I just stay focused. So I think I'm going to work for a little bit, and you guys in the comments, I'll be keeping up with you. Just let me know what you guys are working on today. I'm currently working on a scene between 2 of my main characters, the 2 love interests. And I'm kind of reworking a little bit of their dialogue just to make it sound a little bit more like genuine and realistic. So I've been having a lot of fun with this scene. I like that. You don't write on Sundays. It's so nice to like actually take some time off for yourself. That's something that I used to do as well. I used to take Saturdays and Sundays off, but I just know that I'm kind of behind on edits for my editor, so I have to be working every day or else I'll fall even further behind. And the other thing that's a lot of fun is that it's currently raining outside, and we don't get a ton of rain here in Colorado where I live. So I love it so much when it rains. And the scene that I'm working on in my book right now also has rain. So like where these main characters are, they're like in the woods and it's raining, and I can just like imagine the smells all coming to life. If any of you have ever been like hiking or camping when like a freak rainstorm hit, then you know the smell of like the soil and the trees around you. So that's what I'm trying to like get across in this scene that I'm writing. And it's just like such a comforting, warm feeling to think of. I'm working on getting my two main characters to enjoy being in the same room, and it's hard, right? But I bet that that tension is a lot of fun to write. Oh, Marissa, you're working on a book of poetry for your grandpa. It's interesting that you say that. My grandfather passed away a few years ago, and he actually carried this poem around in his pocket called Pick More Daisies. And I have a daisy tattoo now based on that poem. And like, it's interesting that you're writing poetry for your grandfather, because for me now, my grandfather is very closely linked to that poem, Pick More Daisies. So if you have never heard of that one, I highly recommend that you read it. It's just like a very feel-good poem, and I'll always associate that with him now. Who is the poem by? That is such a great question. Let me look it up real quick. I should know that because it's such an important poem to me. Nadine Stair, Nadinestair. And you guys, if I go quiet for a few minutes, it's just because I'm working on writing. I'm not ignoring you at all. And then when I look back at the comments, then I'll respond to anything you've asked me there. I'm just going to work on this chapter for a little bit here. Oh, Vanessa, I am so happy to hear that you're using the Preptober workbook. Since you guys are here now, I guess I'll just let you know, I am going to be making an updated 2018 Preptober workbook, and that will be coming out October 2018. So I will be looking for like testimonials almost from people that used the 2017 workbook. I'd like to put up some testimonials on my website just to let people that are interested in it know, you know, if it helped you guys and what you kind of got out of it. So I'll be like announcing this later on in the months to come. But if you are somebody that did use the Preptober workbook and it helped you, it would be awesome if you could send me like an email probably with a testimonial just talking about how the workbook helped you, and then I can feature it on my website so that other people that want the 2018 Preptober workbook can get a better idea of how it could help them. So again, Vanessa, I am so happy that it is helping you. And really, it can be used anytime when you want to be able to like plot a new story or work on new ideas. It definitely doesn't have to just be for November. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. And again, you guys, I will be getting to all of your questions in the comments. I'm just going to finish this chapter real quick, and then I will start answering those. There's this little section that I'm working on right now where Charlotte says something, and then our other main character says something back, but I feel like I need a little like response from him because he like jumps into saying something else. So I need to add like a sentence or two here to make it work. Okay, sweet. I just finished chapter 17. That took me forever, but it was a pretty long chapter. And it's weird because there weren't many things that like my current betas told me that needed to be fixed, just like a few little grammatical things. But while I'm editing, even if a beta didn't tell me that I need to do something, I will go back through and read all of it and then make changes as I see fit. So it took me like 2 hours to do chapter 17, but now I can look at the comments and answer questions. Let's see, will you be doing Camp Nano in July? I might be. I need to send the manuscript of Song of the Dryad to my editor on June 29th, and she will have it throughout the month of July. So that will kind of give me a break from thinking about this manuscript. So it would be awesome to start a new project, even if it's like a mini side project or like I have no idea what it would be. But it would be really cool to do something like that, and I'm definitely thinking about it. No promises yet, but if I am going to join, then I'll definitely be opening up a camp cabin, and hopefully a lot of us can join in there. Do I have any dream castings for my characters? I totally do. What are the names of the people? I feel like for my main love interest, that would definitely be Dylan O'Brien. He would be like perfect for the love interest in Song of the Dryad. For my main character, I can picture the face of the person I'd like to use, but I honestly have no idea what her name is. She's not like a really big name actress, so I'm not sure what her name is. And then for the grandmother character in my book, who would I choose for that? It would be cool to have the woman that played in Harry Potter movies, that played McGonagall. I think she would be a really fun, like quirky old grandmother. But as for like all my other characters, I haven't really picked anybody out. I just wish I could remember the name of that actress that I picture Charlotte, the main character, as, because she would be so, so perfect. But I cannot remember what her name is. Oh, hey, Miguel. It is nice to see you. Let's see, Hera, do you listen to music when you write? I do, but I don't listen to anything with lyrics in it. Like right now I have like an instrumental soundtrack going in the background just because I love to have like white noise almost behind me, because if I don't have white noise, then I get easily distracted. And my music has to be so low that it's literally at like, on my computer, the volume bar is usually between like 4 and 8 because it has to be so quiet, just so that it's like filling that part of my mind that's looking for distraction, but it's not actually distracting me. Oh, Louise, that's awesome that you pictured Grandma as McGonagall. Oh, that's so perfect. Let's see. What are your thoughts on people thinking that fan fiction isn't real writing? I think that's kind of ridiculous, because just because you're using a character that you admire that was created by somebody else doesn't mean that what you're writing isn't original. And I mean, I started writing fiction on role-playing forums, like text-based role play. And there were a lot of people that, you know, might think that that wasn't real writing either, because I was just writing these short posts, you know, like forum style with other writers. But that honestly, like, taught me how to write. It gave me the spark of passion for writing. So I think that fan fiction is awesome. Personally, I did write fan fiction when I was in middle school. I wrote a little bit of Twilight fan fiction, but not like, definitely not like the 50 Shades of Grey type. It was very, very like innocent vampire fan fiction that I absolutely loved. So I think you should just write what you love. And even if you're writing fan fiction, like, it's teaching you and you're learning so much. So I definitely think that anybody that says that it's not real writing doesn't, I mean, how can you even define real writing? Like, there's not an actual definition to it. Let's see. Oh, I love all these questions coming in. Hi, Princess Zebra. That's such an awesome name. Oh, that's so fun to hear that somebody else does role play. Like, I was so embarrassed when I was young to tell people about those forums that I was on. And I started when I was really young on like a Neopets forum. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the Pixar movie, or it may have been DreamWorks. I think it was DreamWorks. Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. And I am obsessed with horses. I've always loved horses. And I used to write horse characters on the Neopets roleplay forums. Like, that was my thing that I first started doing. And then when I like moved onto my own forums, that's when I really started like branching out and really discovering how to write different characters. And I would write in first person, I would write in third person. I tried to write in second person, past, present. Like, role play forums absolutely taught me the craft of writing, and they were so important to me for so many years. Like, I ran my own forum for 6 years, and it was absolutely amazing. Best time of my life. Like, I'm very sad that I had to kind of let that go, because the forum was slowly dying and it was so painful, but it's awesome to talk to other people that know what that is. Let's see. Do you feel as though the story you've written doesn't feel like the story in your head? Absolutely, that definitely happens sometimes. And for me, it always comes back to tone. Like, when I'm writing Song of the Dryad, I am going for a very whimsical, magical, like fairy-esque type tone. So when my actual writing is no longer matching what's in my head, then again, I know that I'm getting the tone wrong. Like, if I'm going down the wrong road with that, that's when the story in my head is no longer the story that's actually, you know, I'm typing out. So I would say just try to be like if you're struggling with that, try to think about the tone that you're trying to get across. And then if you feel like you're not striking that tone, ask yourself why and how you could change that to make it better fit the story that's in your head. Let's see. Do you work on a new book, not Song of the Dryad? I don't know if you mean, Happy, I don't know if you mean like for Camp Nano in July, will I be working on a book that isn't Song of the Dryad? Because yeah, if I do Camp Nano, I will not be working on Song of the Dryad, because that will be with my editor. but I might be working on a book that is still in this Song of the Dryad realm. So that's up in the air. I am not sure yet, but as soon as I figure it out, I will let you guys know as well. Let's see. Chris says, I'm struggling to get back into writing after a long break. Work and studying. Ooh, where'd it go? Work and studying took up my whole life. I feel like my writing is terrible now. Do you think fan fiction might help? Absolutely. Like, there used to be a time where I would read my writing and just cringe because I thought it was so terrible. But for me, it was role play forums. For you, it might be writing fan fiction. And that will absolutely help because, again, fan fiction will teach you how to write because you are writing and other people are consuming those stories. And if you want to use characters that are already inspiring to you, that's even better because then you're going to have motivation and inspiration coming into your story rather than having to start fresh with characters that maybe have only existed in your mind. So I think that fan fiction is a fantastic way to start. That was punny. Let's see. How did you know what point of view to write in? Loads of people have said they've ended up rewriting their story. I've done that. Due to the point of view not working. I'm 8 chapters into my book right now and would hate to get to the end and think I should have gone first person. So there are 2 different ways to think about this. The first is that I ask myself, is this a character-driven story or is this a plot-driven story? I tend to write character-driven novels because I'm just more interested in the characters and their development versus the outside forces that are acting on them. And first person works really well for that. However, I am currently writing in third person. And for me, I had to make that decision because I wrote in first person in the past, but I found that I was struggling to actually embody the character that I was writing as I had to do when writing first person. So it felt almost more truthful of me to be writing in third person because then I felt like I could tell Charlotte's story. Charlotte's the main character in Song of the Dryad. I felt like I could tell her story more truthfully by letting her kind of speak for herself versus me embodying her and speaking through her. That might sound kind of funny. But either way, I love third person and I love first person. I think that I will tend to jump back and forth between different novels. Like I said, Song of the Dryad is in third person right now, but you just have to do what's right for you. Like, if you feel really, really comfortable writing in one or the other, then just go with what you feel most comfortable with, and you can always make that work. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I hope my earlier tip about Joanna Penn was helpful. Absolutely. I love all of her content. I have not listened to her podcast yet, but I would like to because here's a funny story. Last year, my car was stolen, and the people that stole the car took the radio out, of course, because it was like an expensive Bluetooth radio. And I am so cheap that I haven't even replaced the radio in my car. So I tend to listen to like earbuds or like one earbud when I'm driving. And rather than listening to music, I like to listen to podcasts. So it would be really fun to listen to her podcast. I just need to find where it is and like find what it's called so that I can listen to that. Let's see. Yeah, Allison, choosing the right point of view is so hard. Yep. Do you have a trick to choose the right one? So Allison, let me know if you feel like that answered your question when I was talking about first and third point of view. Ooh, Vanessa, this is a really good question. Do you think, gosh, this keeps jumping. Do you think your degree in creative writing was worth the time and money, or could you have been successful without it? I'm going to be really, really honest. What I feel was worth my time was discovering myself in college. Like when I went to CSU and got my creative writing degree, honestly, the creative writing didn't teach me anything. I would sit in my classes and I was totally like, I will admit to being kind of snobby and like stuck up in my creative writing classes just because I had already written a few novels and I felt like my professor wasn't teaching me anything new. Like we would read short stories and then discuss them, or read each other's work and then critique it. And while the critiques were helpful to learn, I didn't learn anything about how to write, because I truly feel like to learn how to write, you just have to do it. Like nobody can say, okay, this is how you write well. This is how you write a book. Like you really just have to struggle through it and find your own voice. So personally, I'd say that if you were trying to decide whether or not to go to school and pay all of that money just for a creative writing degree, I don't know how degrees are at other schools, but at CSU where I went, the creative writing program did not better my writing at all. In fact, my professor was rather hard on me, and that was kind of difficult at times. So I would say, if you want to go to college for like the experience or to find yourself, then I highly recommend it. Or, you know, if you want to study something that like really needs a degree. But as far as creative writing goes, unfortunately, my creative writing major did not teach me anything that I didn't already know about writing. And I just learned everything on my own through writing my own books. So that's kind of a, you know, a bummer to hear, I'm sure, but that's how I feel about it. Let's see. So Adam asks, how did you find the motivation to continue with Song of the Dryad after you scrapped all of your initial work for it? Sorry, guys, I can't tell if I'm, like, if my stream is skipping, so let me know if it is, because it looks a little bit laggy on my end. But finding motivation to continue working was extremely difficult, but I knew that if I had done all that work for nothing and I just threw the novel out, that I would feel way worse than if I just kept going with it and tried to salvage what I could. And what I found was I got motivated to work on like the renewed Song of the Dryad when I realized where I had gone wrong. And I scrapped 49,000 words because I knew that I was going in the wrong direction. So once I had kind of realigned myself with the story that I truly wanted to tell, then I started getting excited to tell that story again. So like when I am lacking motivation or inspiration, it's usually because I'm telling the wrong story or going back to tone that I talked about earlier. I'm not like hitting the right tone that I'm going for. So even though it was extremely difficult to continue pushing forward because I didn't know if anything would come of it, I knew that it would be more painful to just give up altogether. And I kind of wanted to look at it like Song of the Dryad has been a massive learning experience for me. I am a completely different writer now than I was when I wrote Highborn and Way of Spears. Like, I don't know if any of you have read either of those two older novels of mine, but my writing has completely evolved in a good way, of course, since then. And I had to struggle through Song of the Dryad to learn how to do that. So if you are struggling with motivation right now, Adam, I highly recommend that you just go back to why you wanted to tell the story in the first place. Like, why was it exciting to you? And talk to yourself and figure out if you are actually telling that story that was exciting to you originally. Because if you're not telling that story, then that may potentially be why you are not feeling motivated anymore. Let's see. Oh, so here's an interesting comment. Let's see. I heard first person versus third person is explained as this. First person is being the actor. Third person is you watching the actor. That's a really great way to go about it. And then I'll add to that that if you're writing in third person, you have to decide between third person limited, which is what I write in, or third person omniscient. Because if it's third person limited, then you only know the thoughts in your main character's head. So they have no idea what anybody else is thinking. But if you are being an omniscient third person narrator, then you know what is in everybody's head at all times. And personally, I don't really like writing in that style. I much prefer third person limited, and I prefer reading novels that are third person limited. But that's a really good way to describe it as well. You know, either being the actor or watching the actor. Yeah, Louise, like I just read your comment about your, you know, how you feel about your degree. And it's such a bummer when you realize that you've spent all that money on something that isn't bettering your, writing life. Because honestly, like my YouTube, my writing, like everything that I do is something that I created. And unfortunately, my degree didn't help me at all with that. So that was a lot of money spent on something that I'm not actually using. Let's see. Let's see. So Misfit asks, what is a book or books that is or are similar to your novel? That is such a great question. To tell you the truth, I haven't read any fairy books recently. I know that there are a lot of fairy novels out right now, but I haven't been reading them because I'm trying to not let them influence Song of the Dryad and influence my fairy world. But as far as it goes, like Song of the Dryad is what I would call a contemporary fantasy. So much of it is based in a contemporary world with fantasy elements. It is not magical realism. Because magical realism is where like magic is well known and it's just like a given in the society and people don't like really pay attention to it. So it's not magical realism, but it's definitely like a contemporary based setting with fantasy interwoven. And I'm trying to think of what novel would be that way. And I honestly can't come up with any right now. I don't know, like Luis, you've read Song of the Dryad. What do you think? Like, are there any other books you can think of right now that are kind of like Song of the Dryad? Because it's a very like, I went for a very whimsical, like cozy, comforting read that has fairies and fantasy elements, but I can't think of a book off the top of my head that is similar to that. Yeah, Vanessa, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like during your junior year, it feels like a waste of time. I totally know how that feels. I was rather fortunate because when I was in my creative writing classes, my professor always wanted us to write short stories, and I have actually never focused like any attention on short stories. And I told her, like, I'm a novelist. I've written a few novels. I'm working on one right now because I was working on Fire Tongue my junior year. Is that right? I think I was working on Fire Tongue my junior year and then Wave Spears my senior year. And she actually allowed me to bring my chapters into the class. So I did get to work on my personal work for some of my classes, but I know how it feels. Like you want to better your creative writing skills, but sometimes you feel like your classes are just taking you further away from what you want. And I know that that's really frustrating. Let's see. I'm trying to keep up with these comments here. Sorry if I'm missing any of them. Let's see, Chris says, let's see. I watched your vlogs about rewriting Song of the Dryad after you did a detailed outline. I know you did a video on it and I watched it, but could you go over it a bit? So Chris, do you mean go over like my outlining or go over rewriting Song of the Dryad? So just let me know which one you mean and then I'd be happy to go over that. This is fun, just chatting with you guys. Like I finished the chapter I was working on, so I feel like I've been successful and it's a lot of fun to just sit here and chat with you. Let's see. Let's see, so I had a question here from Happy. What is your strategy to sell Song of the Dryad and do you have a marketing plan? So I'll be really honest, I've only just started developing a marketing plan. For my two previous novels, Highborn and Wave Spears, honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have an audience. I had no idea how to sell books. So this time around, I definitely am going to learn a lot. I plan to do like a blog tour. I'm going to be on a podcast, hopefully talking about Song of the Dryad. Of course, I'll be making YouTube videos. But as far as like other stuff outside of that, like ARCs, you know, advanced readers copies, I want to do those. But I have a lot to learn. So once I actually develop a marketing plan, I want to make an entire video on it so that you guys can learn what I have learned. But I can't sit here and say, oh, yes, this is my marketing plan because I don't currently have that all figured out. But of course, once I do figure out what that marketing plan is, you can be sure to find it on my channel. Misfit, you say Raven Boys. So do you mean like, is my novel kind of like Raven Boys? And I'd say yes, because that, you know, that series, those 4 books are very much like are very much based in a contemporary setting with fantastical elements. So absolutely like hints of Raven Boys in there. But Maggie Stiefvater's writing is so, like, it's so, so complex. And I feel like right now my writing is, hers is like a very mature style of writing. And right now I'm going for something that's a lot more like cozy and whimsical. So mine isn't as like dark as hers. She certainly like explores some darker themes, but that would definitely be like a comparable title. Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, go over the outlining. So Chris, I love outlining. It is one of my favorite things to do. So I start out, I'll go over this really quick. Pretty much what I do is I start out by just like taking all the ideas I could possibly have and writing them all down in one place. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to use all of these ideas. Most of them will actually be thrown out anyway, but I write everything down. Like, I like to listen to music, get a lot of inspiration, and that all goes either like in one notebook. I have a notebook back here actually that I was using for Song of the Dryad, or a computer document. And then once I feel like I have enough like bulk of just basic ideas, after that I will start taking all of those ideas and breaking. You might hear Tifa. Let me close the door so you can't hear Tifa crying. Hang on. He is such a chatty cat. You can hear him in almost every one of my videos. But after I have all of those ideas, like those bulk ideas written down, then I take all of those and I start breaking them down into beginning, middle, and end. And I can just like pick and choose and move things around. And it's a lot of fun because I'm like building and developing the story while I have all of those ideas already. And from that point, there's just more and more development with like an additional level each time I come back to edit it. So I'll do, you know, beginning, middle, and end, and then I'll go back through and break it down into my acts, and then I will break it down into chapters, and then I break it down into scenes. But pretty much I just like allow myself to write down every single idea that comes to me, and then over the course of the next few weeks or the next couple of months, I will take all those ideas, break them down into a chapter by chapter structure. And then also in that way, I can see if I'm like missing anything, and then I can think on, okay, chapter 7 needs more conflict. You know, what could I possibly have in chapter 7 that creates more tension? And then I can think on that and add it in without actually having to write the entire novel and then realizing later that there's not enough tension. So I absolutely love outlining, and I would be happy to even do like another outlining video now that I'm going to be, like, I will be outlining another book here soon, I'm sure. So I would be happy to do another outlining video here in the future. Let's see. So Maria, you said that that's the only thing that is stopping you from self-publishing. You're too introverted, have zero idea how to do marketing. I had zero idea also. Like, I did not know what I was doing until I started making YouTube videos and interacting with the community and watching other people. And I think that not all writers, of course, you can't like generalize writers, but many of us are introverted. I am extremely introverted. I know that when I'm in front of a camera, I come across as very comfortable, but when I'm out in the real world, I'm very introverted. I don't really like being around people. It's difficult to talk to new people that I don't know. So I totally get you there. And if you're interested in like very basic, like beginner marketing, I would say have an Instagram, have a Twitter, and just post regularly. Talk to other people in the community. Definitely have an author website. Like, to any of you out there that are working on a book right now and want to publish it, you should already have an author website. Whether you're traditionally publishing or self-publishing, you have to have an author website. And most of the time, even if you traditionally publish, your publisher will not do it for you. So get yourself a website. You can blog. You can link your Twitter to it. You can link your Instagram to it. And that is an awesome way to start marketing. Because let's say you're talking on Twitter. You're like, yeah, I'm working on chapter 35. It's really difficult. You know, not sure where I'm going to go from here. Somebody is interested in that. They're interested in hearing your story and, you know, about your book. They can click on your Twitter, and then they can look at your profile, and then they can find your website, and already there you've marketed yourself. Like, you don't have to get in front of anybody. You don't have to talk to them face to face, but just to be interacting with the community, having your social media, having your website, like that already is marketing. So that would be my like beginner's tip for you. Oh, Miguel, that's an awesome question. Are you planning on reworking your first 2 books and putting them out with the knowledge you have now? I have thought about that, honestly, because if I went back through those books, they would be totally different. And that's not really embarrassing for me to say, just because I know that we each learn so much every time we write a new book. Like Highborn and Song of the Dryad are not nearly on the same like caliber of writing and storytelling at all. But I don't think I would go back and redo them, because at this point I don't have the energy for it, and I don't have the drive to go back into those stories and those worlds. And again, maybe I'll like tell a different story in one of those story worlds, like in Way of Spears. There's this place, I don't know if any of you guys have read it, but there is this city called Kayenta, and it's like this desert dweller type city. And it would be so sweet to go back in and write a book about characters living in that setting. So I think I would definitely be open to writing books within the world of Highborn or Way of Spears, but I don't think I would ever at this point go back and actually rework those. Peggy, yes, this will be archived to watch later. I will put this out on my YouTube channel, so you will definitely be able to watch it. Chris, I love to hear your cat. He always sounds like he's in the room with me. He is so cute and he is so loud. So the one that was just meowing is Tifa, and then the other one that has the higher pitched meow is Mew, and both of them are very, very talkative. Let's see. Love the artwork I just spotted behind you, Natalia. Oh, thank you so much. Are you talking about that little N back there? My younger sister is actually getting married this week, this Friday. And for her bachelorette party, we went to this little like painting place, and that's the painting I did. So thank you. I appreciate that. I had a really good time. Like as an introvert, like I was just saying, it was like the perfect bachelorette party to attend, because I just like sat quietly in my own world and painted while all of the other women painted around me. So it was like the perfect social outing for me, since I don't do like outside social things very often. Let's see. Okay, so a few of you are saying that you would like another outlining video, so I'll definitely get another one of those up once I am outlining my next book. Oh, Misfit, that's fun. So you said that your book reads like Anna and the French Kiss, but it's a fantasy. I think that's awesome, because I love fantasy elements in books. Like I tend to always reach for a fantasy, but then at the same time, I don't always feel like getting to know a brand new fantasy world. So in that way, having a novel that is contemporary-esque with fantasy elements is so much fun, because it's like we already understand our contemporary world. So if you're set in a contemporary setting with fantasy elements on top of it, personally, I feel like it's a much like smoother transition into that fantasy book, and it just feels so like comforting to me. So I'm glad to hear that other people are writing books like that as well. Yeah, Maria, you said you have a Twitter and a blog, but you're not super active on there. So yeah, like even if you can just set a schedule for yourself, like, okay, I'm going to post on Twitter 5 times a week, and I'm going to post on my blog once a week. Like even doing that will start drawing like an audience and activity to your social platforms. And that is an awesome way to market. Like that is where you can get started. Let's see. I've been thinking about making a website lately for my writing. Your dad's been telling you to do this forever. My dad is the same way. He's super supportive of me. What platform would be best? Blogger, WordPress, Squarespace, etc. So that depends on what you want to do with your website. So I started off using Blogger. It's currently what my website is still on, and honestly, I do not like it. If you're going to be blogging, then maybe it would work for you, but I don't blog very often. So I think that I'm going to make the jump to Squarespace or Wix. I think it's called Wix. Isn't it called Wix? I'm just thinking of like the filters for the car I use. They're called Wix. But anyway, so if you really want to blog, I would recommend like Blogger or WordPress. But if you're not going to blog, I would definitely recommend maybe like Weebly. Like if you want to go for a cheaper version, Weebly is a good one. I use Weebly now for some other websites that I have. And then of course, Wix and Squarespace are absolutely beautiful and they'll give you a really professional look. But I know that they are a little bit more expensive. So that's why I haven't made the switch yet. I will eventually make the jump, but I'm not there yet. But unfortunately, I would not recommend Blogger because that's what I use and I'm not a huge fan of it. Like it does not have the customization that I'm looking for. So I would not recommend that one, unfortunately. Let's see. Oh, Mew. Oh my gosh, Lucy. Okay, Tifa, yes. Tifa is named after Tifa in Final Fantasy. But the funny question is that Greg named Tifa, and originally Greg was told that Tifa was a female cat, hence the name Tifa from the female character in Final Fantasy. But then later on, he found out that Tifa was actually a male cat. So we have a male Tifa named after the Tifa from Final Fantasy. Yeah, a schedule will absolutely help you on your social media. Let's see, since you love outlining, do you think books written by plantsers, I love that term, can be done just as well as those written by plotters? Absolutely. I think that just depends on your writing style because like people that are pantsers, what they've told me is that they love just sitting down and letting like their mind get carried away and letting their characters tell the story for them. And I think that you can write a really organic, amazing story that way. But it just doesn't work for me personally because I'm somebody that has to know where I'm going or else it causes me to just like freeze up. If I don't know what my characters are supposed to be doing or what they're supposed to be achieving, then I really can't move forward. So that's why I'm a plotter. But so many amazing, like I have read so many amazing books and then like listen to author interviews and they talk about how they don't plot a single thing. So you can absolutely write an absolutely phenomenal book without plotting anything, but it just doesn't work for me, unfortunately. Let's see. Maria Duvall, you both said that WordPress is awesome. So yeah, that's good to know for any of you that are, let's see, is WordPress customizable? Yeah, good question. I would like to know also if WordPress is very customizable. I've never used it before. We had a cat named Isabel, then we found out it was a boy, and now he's Isaboy. I like that, Sarah. That's really cute. Let's see. KJ, you said, I am both a planter and a plotter. I know the start and the end, and the middle changes as I go. So that's an interesting way to go about it, because it's like, you know where your characters are starting off, and you know where they need to arrive by the end, but you're just not really sure how they're going to get there. So I feel like if I had to be a pantser for some reason, that method would probably work better for me because at least I would have like some guidelines. And that's the thing. I really enjoy having guidelines when I write because if I don't have those guidelines, then it's like the amount of freedom that I have is just way too constraining to me in some way. Oh, that's fun, Jody. You put up your July Camp Nano page. You might put it up on Wattpad. I'm actually curious about if any of you guys use Wattpad regularly. I was thinking about putting up, like not Song of the Dryad, but before I had a novel that I was thinking about putting up on Wattpad, but I never knew how it worked. So if you guys use it, you should let me know how it works because I still have that story and maybe I could post it there. I think that would be a lot of fun to like put out chapter by chapter and to watch people reading it. That would be amazing. Allison said, do you think you'll end up writing in a different genre? I know you shared in your videos that you'd like to write a vampire romance. Oh my gosh, yeah. Do you think it could be your next project? That would be awesome. I definitely think that I will, always have paranormal, fantasy, magical type elements in my novels because that is what is most like fascinating to me. I've tried to write strictly contemporary and it doesn't work. So I think that there will always be an aspect of like the other and like magical elements in my novels. But as like aside from that, I think I would absolutely explore with different genres. I cannot wait to write that vampire romance. Like, people said that vampires were overdone, but I will always, always read vampire books and mermaid books and fairy books. Like, I will always read those. And I'm not sure if it'll be my next book because I do have some ideas for Song of the Dryad Book 2, and I would really like to set a goal for myself to try to write a sequel to Song of the Dryad because I've never written a sequel before, so I feel like I would learn a lot from it, even though I also think it would be really difficult. So probably I'm thinking right now that my next book will be Song of the Dryad Book 2, but if that doesn't happen for any reason, then a vampire novel would be freaking amazing. Like, I cannot wait to write that. Let's see. I'm just reading through all of your comments now. I love when, like, I see you guys chatting with each other in the comments. I think that's fantastic because I know that I'm the one, like, on video right now for you to see, but we're all, like, in this community together, so it's a lot of fun to see you guys chatting with each other. Let's see, Shelby. Hi, Shelby. You said that you use Wattpad, you joined in, and it's pretty cool. It's like YouTube, but for books. That's pretty sweet. I love YouTube, and I love books, so that might work for me. So Maria, you said, can you share advice about how to write a blurb for your book? You find it so hard to explain your book in a succinct way. It's so difficult, isn't it? So I actually have a very old video that's out. I'm going to have to redo it because it's like an old one that was on this webcam here where I talk about it. And I can't remember the exact points I use now, but I could link that video down below actually after this wraps up so I can show you what it is. But it's me writing, I think it's called like writing a synopsis or how I write a synopsis. And you can look at that and it's pretty much me figuring out like, okay, I need to introduce the main character. I need to introduce the setting. Then I need to introduce the main conflict, a sub-conflict, and then tie it all together. And that was kind of how I wrote my blurb or my synopsis. Synopsis is kind of confusing because a synopsis is also something that's extremely long and extremely tedious that you have to sometimes write for literary agents when you're querying them. So that's a little bit confusing, but yeah, as far as writing that blurb goes, I do have that video on it, so I will definitely link it down below when this video wraps up. Let's see, Ben. So you said that you're thinking about submitting your historical fiction novel to indie presses, but worry that it will be rejected for length. I don't actually know much about how long historical fiction tends to be. I know that, like, the one I'm thinking of, like, right off the top of my head is Outlander, and that book is, like, freaking humongous. But my mom likes to read historical fiction a lot, and hers tend to be shorter. But if it's, like, too long for an indie press, Ben, have you ever thought about self-publishing? Just because if you feel like your story really needs those extra 49,000 words and you don't want to, like, sacrifice and have to cut it down for somebody else's publishing house to tell you that you can publish it, I'm curious if you've thought of self-publishing before. Let's see. I got buried in comments again, so I'm trying to find where I left off now. Let's see, Jason, you said, I'm currently working on a sequel to my first novel and was wondering when in the writing process you would start using beta readers. I start using beta readers after I have done a complete developmental edit. So I write the first draft, I let it sit for a while, I read the entire draft, and then I do a full developmental edit on that. So that takes us to a completed second draft, and that is when I start using beta readers. So I think it depends on kind of how clean you write and on how many rounds of revisions you feel like you need to go through before it's like reader ready. But I tend to go for betas after I have finished the complete second draft. Let's see, so Daniel asked, do you think LGBTQA plus protagonist-based books have the same chance to succeed? And why do you think we don't see more books like that, especially in fantasy? I think that's a fantastic question, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know why we're not seeing more books like that in fantasy right now. I think if you are referring to traditional publishing, then we have to ask why traditional publishers aren't putting out those books that we want to see with diverse narrators. But then at the same time, I feel like self-publishing is really getting going now. And I think that is going to be fantastic for like own voices narratives, because now people don't have to wait for somebody else to tell them that their story is valid. So it'd be super exciting to start seeing so many different characters in like fantasy settings. Like personally for myself, I'm somebody that struggles with a lot of social anxiety, which is interesting since I'm sitting here chatting with you guys. But personally, I think it would be awesome to see a character struggling with social anxiety in a fantasy world. Like if you can imagine, who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of like the characters from Graceling. If you guys have ever read that trilogy, like I wonder what the characters would have been like if not only are they trying to like save their kingdom, but they also have like crippled social anxiety and don't even want to see people in like the common rooms or like the courtyard. Like it would be so cool to see that. And going back to your question, I just do believe that we have to look to the traditional publishers, you know, ask why they are not putting out those books that we want to see with those diverse narrators, and then hopefully just, you know, continue supporting indie published and self-published authors so that we can get more of those own voices out there. And again, nobody else has to tell them that they are valid, because they can publish those books on their own and those books can be loved and enjoyed by all of us. Let's see. Well, that's interesting, Teresa. Wattpad is trying to pay their authors for original stories, like the ads with YouTube. That would be so cool. I'm definitely going to have to look into that. Yeah, KJ, looking at what you said about that LGBTQA plus question, I agree with you. I definitely think it's getting more popular. So in years to come, like, of course, it does take traditional publishing quite a while to get books out, you know, 2-3 years. So I think in the next few years, we'll definitely be seeing more of those narratives. Yes, Miss Maddie reads, I need to see social anxiety rep in fantasy books. That would be fantastic. I completely agree. Yeah, shine brightly. Like, yes, exactly. Like seeing characters that struggle with the same anxieties that we struggle with, but they are able to still be successful and like conquer the things that they need to conquer and save the day and maybe even learn more about themselves in the process. That would be fantastic. Like I I can only remember reading one book in the past that has had a main character that had social anxiety, and I like connected with her so much. And I really want to like reach out and find more of those books now, just to feel like I'm reading about a protagonist that knows what I have experienced as well. Hmm? Oh, Jody, thank you for that recommendation about a podcast. Like I said way earlier on, I definitely want to be finding new podcasts, like writing podcasts to listen to. The Sell More Books show. I would like to sell more books, so I think that I will take a listen to that. Hey, Matthew, thank you for joining us. It's nice to hear that you are somebody that's also trying to like take your experiences and share them with people through your main characters. That's something that I ended up doing with Charlotte in Song of the Dryad, and I didn't even really mean to. Like, my opinions and thoughts were coming out as hers, and it was kind of a weird situation to have it happening, because for those of you that will read Song of the Dryad in the future, like, Charlotte is not me. She is very much her own character, but my thoughts and struggles and emotions kind of came out and she portrayed them, even though I didn't mean for that to happen. So you guys let me know if that's ever happened to you. Like, you didn't mean to base a character off of yourself, but they ended up looking or acting a little bit like you. Mm-hmm. Oh, you guys, this has been so fantastic. All right, so it is actually, it just hit 5:30 where I'm at now, and I have 3 dogs and 4 cats. One of my clients has 7 animals, and Greg and I have to go check on all of them, feed them dinner. One of them needs an insulin shot, which I recently learned how to administer, and I was very proud of myself for learning how to do that. So I think I'm going to have to jump off of here and wrap this up. This is absolutely amazing. It was the first ever live stream that I've done by myself. Like, I was just sitting in my office tonight, writing, listening to the rain, and I was like, you know what? I want to hang out with some people. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Let's see, I'm going to really shine brightly. Thank you for the chat. Take care. Oh, thank you so much. This is my end of Sunday hairstyle. What do you think of it? This was fun. This was so much fun. So you guys, I would like to do this more often. Now that I'm like more comfortable being live in front of a camera. It used to really scare me because I'm so used to filming, editing, and then sharing with you. So when you're, I feel like I have makeup on my face. So when you're live like this and like I mess up my words, I just have to go with the flow. But you guys are so supportive and so kind. I absolutely love this community. So thank you guys so much for joining me. This video will be archived on my channel. It's going to have a super goofy thumbnail until I get home tonight and can like actually make one, but it will be here. So if you guys want to look back over it, or for any of you that wanted to tune back in and had to leave, you can definitely watch this. Oh, you guys are so nice. I will definitely give the fur babies an extra snuggle for you. All right, guys, so thank you so much. I'm going to go and visit those pups and all those cats, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be coming out later this week. All right, bye, guys. I love you. See you later.